Hi, in lesson 5, we are going to start talking about Dreamweaver. It is the WYSIWYG tool that we are going to use to help us be introduced to HTML. HTML is hypertext markup language. It is used to organize and add structure to text, and then we're going to use a little bit of CSS to add some appearance, fonts, and design to our page. HTML marks up text. It gives meaning to individual pieces of your content and lets you link to other content. If you think about the way that HTML was originally developed, we started with research papers that we were sending back and forth between scientists, even as they were developing the internet. And we started having to say, okay, this is a heading, and this is our table of contents. And we want to be able to organize things. And it would be great if I could put a table in here and I could put an image in here to explain what I was doing. But it was basically term papers that they were setting up. So the initial functions of HTML are basically to mark up papers, very similar to how Microsoft Word marks up papers. But instead of highlighting it and hit bold, you highlight it and put tags on each side of it that say this text is supposed to be bold. So that's what we're going to be doing in this class. We're using Dreamweaver as a WYSIWYG editor to help us introduce to the code, so you don't have to memorize all the HTML code right now. You just kind of have to recognize it at this point, and then in the future with practice you'll get better and better at using it to the point where you really won't want to use a WYSIWYG editor at all. It's so much faster to just type it up in Visual Studio Code. But here's how we're going to get started. The first thing that we need to do is to install Dreamweaver. When we come over here, we can search for the Adobe products, creativity and design, and search through it, view all products. You can eventually find your way over to Dreamweaver. You do not need to do the free trial. You do not need to do save now. You don't need to use any discount things. You need to sign in up here and enter your WakeTech address and your WakeTech email address, and use your WakeTech password, and you'll be able to log into Adobe through your student single sign-on. It's all going to be included for you in this, and you can also poke around to see what else they put on your account. I think you probably have access to Photoshop at least, and so you'll be able to use that to create images, edit images, do fun stuff like that while you're in this course. Once you have it installed, I highly recommend you use light mode. Light mode, or light theme, looks the most like the book of all the themes. And a lot of the questions I get, people kind of get stressed out because the book looks different in the picture. And when we change themes, that's enough for them to say, oh, it's not really that different after all. So once you've got it installed, you need to follow these steps to go to the Cengage website and download the data files for this class. You'll go to cengage.com. If you don't have your book listed in My Home already, you can search this ISBN and then find the book and click Add to My Home. And then once you click on it in the home, you'll get this companion site, or you can pick by chapter, and you can click on this data files down here. That'll give you a zip file with more zip files in it. So you've got to unzip the main zip file and then unzip each chapter's zip file into their own section. And we'll be using the Dreamweaver chapters 1 through 7. So the rest of it is extra and you don't need. So by this point, you should have your data files somewhere you can find them. You should have Dreamweaver installed, and look down at the instructions. The way this book works is it's essentially a tutorial. Now this is a slightly older book because they didn't update this book for me like the publishers promised me they were going to update the book. So we're still using an older book for this semester. And it has some slight differences in it compared to modern Dreamweaver. If you're the kind of person that isn't very comfortable on computers at all, sometimes this stresses people out when it's not identical, but I promise you, nothing that you need to do, nothing that you must do has been changed. It is only things that are kind of on the edges, some of the more advanced features, um, even some of these things about the tutorials and what comes with built-in templates and things like that, they have changed, but nothing that you must do for these assignments has really changed outside of a very small number of things. I have attempted to list off what the small number of things are that I've noticed have changed between the books. So for example, the people tend to install the dark theme, but light theme looks more like the book. There's not a compact view anymore. There's now standard and developer. So at some point your book says, now go into compact view. It's just trying to get you to flip between views. Don't get hung up when it's just introducing the tool to you. One of the things that you need to be able to do in any of the fields that are required to take this course is to be able to read some instructions, even if those instructions aren't written perfectly, and kind of learn how to learn a new piece of software. The way this book works is that in each chapter, in each lesson, the end of the lesson is a set of instructions. Oh, and I don't have the screenshots up. I'll make sure I get the screenshots up. Each set of the lessons have instructions at the end of each one. So if you go into your book, chapter 1 has chapter 1. If you expand it down, you see lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3. If you see lesson 1, it has these two articles. So if you go down to the bottom of the article, you get this box with instructions. And I have told you what it should look for. Start Dreamweaver, start Dreamweaver. So when you see the heading that matches what the instructions say that you're supposed to do, then you should come in here and follow those instructions. So chapter 1, super easy. Open up Dreamweaver. And then it starts talking to you about how to edit things, but all you have to do is open up Dreamweaver. If you've got a Mac, it shows you how to open up Dreamweaver in Mac. And then it kind of walks you through. You don't have to do all these steps. It's just kind of walking you through the interface, which, as we mentioned, is very slightly different, but not that much. And then you'll read through lesson 2. You'll read opening a web page, viewing web page, and then you get down to getting help. And at the bottom of getting help, we have the same box with a heading that matches the heading you're supposed to do. And if you go through all the lessons that you're required to do, this shows you how to just open up a file and work with it. And then you get into chapter 2 or lesson 3 and 4, it has you start creating a site, and it just walks you through the process. When people are confused in this class, the number one way that I get them unconfused is I tell them to go through the step-by-step instructions and tell me which one of the step-by-step instructions they found confusing. And I almost invariably have that student come back to me and go, oh, I figured it out. Because it's really not that bad. It's not intended to confuse anyone. But one of the main confusing things that people see is that in lesson 2, it has you open up D1_1 and say, look, this is how I can open a website. But then in lesson 4, it tells you to grab D1_2 in order to start editing it. And most people get confused because they find D1_1 and they keep using that instead of switching to the file it tells you to switch to. So make sure you're actually carefully following these instructions as you go. Chapter 2 has a slightly bigger thing. The page title has been moved to the properties panel and there is no more history panel. Now that page title is now the document title. And let's go over and look at it. When you start Dreamweaver, in the book's version, there are more things up here. Some of them have been moved to right here, but the title has been moved to properties. So once you're starting up Dreamweaver, click Window, click Properties, and open it up. Make sure it's checked, or just hit Control F3. And you'll now have your page window, your document title in your page. And so this is Dreamweaver. This is our WYSIWYG editor. The whole point of using Dreamweaver over another tool is you get to drag and drop to create your code. So no matter how much you're struggling in this course, you can do something. You will be able to accomplish something. You've got a design window and a code window, or you can split your view, and you see that what I have up here is also what I have down here. So that's why we're using this tool, so that if you are not comfortable with any of this structure, any of this typing, you can drag and drop onto the screen and build it out just like you were drawing a document in Microsoft Word. But if you are comfortable, this will tell you what the actual tags are, so you don't need to have everything memorized, but then you can edit it down here and type faster down here. And with a CSS, it'll suggest correct properties for you. So it's really just going to be a very useful way to do it. Most of the people that go into programming, play in Dreamweaver for a little bit, and then they start typing everything up because they find they have so much more control there. The people that go into others at least can draw on something and have a little bit of fun with it. If you get really hung up, none of these examples should take more than 20 or 30 minutes to do, even if you're not super comfortable with computers. So if you are hung up for more than 30, 40 minutes, please immediately reach out to your instructor and ask them what's going wrong and ask for help, because this is intended to be kind of a fun thing to do. What you will do is you will practice what you need to do with step-by-step instructions, and then the next lesson, basically do the same instructions for your own final project. And over the course of the next few lessons, we are going to build the final projects step by step and get everything done.